Hey, it's Trina, and welcome back to Trina Talks. If you haven't been on the podcast before, then welcome. Or if you're someone who's a regular, then welcome back. Today, we're going to be talking about, well, you already saw the title of this episode. Basically, it's going to be a very open discussion about everything from mental health to therapy, because I feel like I've been thinking about it a lot recently, and I feel like people don't really talk about it that much. Like, people do, but they don't, if that makes sense. So I just kind of want to share, like, my side of it, my story. But for starters, a really exciting life update is when I'm filming this, I go back to school in 10 days, which is crazy. Also, I passed my driving test, so that's exciting. I'm planning to talk about that, like a whole episode about that in the future, so we'll see. But just want to say that because that's really exciting. Now we're going to kind of dive into the topic of mental health and therapy. So basically, I started going to therapy back in October for something that I'm not really going to share, but I started going to therapy at my school. We have like a counselor type of thing. She's amazing. Shout out to Sandy, love her. And I feel like going there a lot, I used to be really scared to go, and like it made me really uncomfortable and everything. And I honestly just thought like I was gonna get really judged for going and stuff, or that it made me like weird that I had to go or something. And don't get me wrong, like definitely like even towards the end before I came back for summer when I was still going, I did skip a couple sessions because I was like, I don't need to go, I'm fine, I don't need to go to therapy. And then I probably ended up crying like 30 minutes later, and then I was like, I should have gone to therapy. So basically, if you don't go to therapy, or maybe you've been wanting to try it and you don't know, I would highly recommend it. I feel like you could go for many different reasons. People go for anything from confidence to past trauma to present trauma to worrying about the future to worrying about school, family, personal stuff, relationships, like whatever it is, you could go for like any reason. And I think sometimes people don't really realize that. Like I go for like something that's like pretty big, I would say, but I have friends who go for literally just like struggling with anxiety, and I definitely talk about anxiety at mine too. I talk a lot about nightmares though. I've been having a lot of nightmares, and so that's something that I talk about pretty frequently, and we started to kind of like try to track my nightmares a little bit, see how that goes. But yeah, I just feel like, you know, if it's something you're thinking about, definitely try to give it a shot. If you go to a school, your school probably has like a free counselor that you can go see, like I said where I go. But if not, maybe you could try to find an online one or one that's like near you. But I think it's really important and it's really helpful, and I feel like mental health isn't really talked about enough sometimes. I feel like people talk about it a lot and they touch on the topic a lot, but they don't really dive deep into like what it's like and how it kind of affects you. So I struggle a lot with anxiety, and I would say like really struggle with it since like 2020, I'd say, is when it got like really bad, because that was like COVID times, and I was having kind of like, I don't want to say like social anxiety, but kind of like social anxiety. Like I was like scared to go out, scared to see people, scared to go do things kind of, and then that kind of just turned to like an overall anxiety. But I've always had like anxiety for like tests and everything, and I didn't know that it was kind of like abnormal, that you shouldn't be feeling nervous about every single day that you're living. And that's something I'm still very much so struggling with, and something that I'm still working through. And like I said, I don't particularly go to therapy for that, but we definitely touch on it a little bit. But I feel like something I usually just kind of work through on my own. I have tried a bunch of different methods to try to cope with anxiety. I've tried journaling, I've tried meditation, I've tried working out, I've tried breathing techniques, I've tried like so many different things. Like anything you can probably think of, I've probably tried it. And I would say the ones that usually work for me, it kind of varies. Journaling helps a lot. I don't do it as much as I should, or as much as I would like to, because I feel like it's very helpful, and sometimes I just forget to do it or I don't feel like doing it, but I always feel better after I do it. Same thing with working out. This summer I focused a lot on working out. I hadn't really done that before, and I felt so much better. Like my head felt so much clearer, my thoughts felt so much more positive, happier. Like I was just like less stressed and less anxious all the time. The breathing techniques, I don't usually do that for just like normal anxiety. I would do that for like waking up from nightmares, or if I had like a panic attack or something. But I would say I do usually forget to breathe, so I wouldn't include that in the general techniques that I use for anxiety. And I have been going for a lot of walks. I started doing that last summer, and it worked really well for me. So I've been doing that a ton, and I found that that helps to really clear my head and just kind of like, I don't know, sometimes I feel like anxiety can tie into other aspects of your life, like stress or even anger. And so it's like a nice, healthy way to get those emotions out. Kind of like working out. Some people will go to the gym, some people do boxing, some people go for walks, some people do runs. I also started running. I'm not really a runner, so I don't do it that much, but if I'm in really desperate need, I will do a run. Also, dancing is a big thing for me because I feel like I'm a dancer, and it's a really good way to cope with your feelings and get all your emotions out. So sometimes I'll do that. I'll just literally dance and just like throw my body around, and it you know, it works for me. So if you have like a sport or something that you can use to kind of get those pent up feelings out, I would definitely recommend that. If not, maybe try find something else that works for you. Like I said, it could be journaling, it could be breathing techniques, it could be yoga, it could be meditation. Sometimes I sit down and listen to music, and that works too. It's really just like trying different things. It's trial and error, which I know can be frustrating and very annoying. Like I said, I've been doing this since 2020, so we're going on almost 5 years. So that's a long time of me trying to find what works for me. And like I said, it's something I'm still working on. Like I haven't even fully found what works best for me yet. So it takes time. So if you're in the same boat, don't feel too frustrated or be too hard on yourself for it, because I think it's something that a lot of people go through and they just don't really talk about it that much. Like it's a lot of my friends, I know that they go through the same thing, but they don't really talk about it. And then sometimes I feel like I don't talk about it because I'm like, well, they don't talk about it, so why would I talk about it? But I feel like there's nothing wrong with talking about it, you know what I mean? Like it should be a very open topic. Like I will tell people now, or I'm trying to get better at that. And I'll be like, hey, you know what? I'm feeling really anxious. Like I'm gonna go or something, you know? Like making those emotions clear is better for you and better for everyone in the situation. So I feel like it's just helpful to kind of say what you're feeling. And like I said, easier said than done, I know, but just try it sometimes, you know, like little steps. Try it one time and then maybe try another time, and it'll get easier as you keep doing it and keep expressing how you're feeling. So tying along with that is the nerves that I get before a test or something like that is so bad. My anxiety shows up in the form of either like usually two ways. One, the whole room literally spins, like I'm so dizzy and I usually feel like I'm gonna pass out. That's like the most extreme, but that's more for cases of like I have a fear of needles, so like that, or like anything with like doctors, basically that's how I feel. But like normal like test anxiety is like I feel like I'm gonna throw up. Like I feel sick to my stomach. I can't eat, I can't drink, I can't sleep. It feels like really bad. So I usually get that before I have like a really big test. Like I took my driving test, like I said. That day, I felt so sick. It was at 10 in the morning. I woke up at 7. I did not need to wake up at 7, by the way. And I just couldn't sleep anymore because I felt so sick. I tried to eat something because I didn't want to be hungry. I couldn't eat. Tried to drink some water. Couldn't really drink any water. Tried to calm myself down. That wasn't really working. So that's usually what I get, and it's something I'm working on. I feel like I got a lot better at it the past school year. I would go take my psychology test, and that was like the only like test really that I had, because I'm an art major, so we don't really have that many, but I have a psych minor, so I always have them for psych classes. And the first test, I was so nervous. I was up studying the whole night before, which I didn't need to do, because honestly, like psych, I usually feel pretty good about it. Like I usually get a pretty good grade on the test. I do definitely need to study, but I don't need to study to the extent that I do. And I was like really stressed about it. Woke up early, also studied, went to the test, was super nervous. And I feel like sometimes when I get so nervous about a test, it almost like counteracts me. Is that the right word? No, contradicts me. I don't know what the word is that I'm looking for, but basically like it screws me over, because I end up getting so nervous that I forget everything that I was studying for and everything that I was working on. And then it just puts me in a bad position, and I was like, I could have avoided this maybe if I wasn't as nervous. So I try to just remind myself and be like, it's fine, it is what it is, whatever happens. Take a deep breath and be like, you got this. Like, you prepared for it, you know what I mean? If it's something to do like a test, like you got it, and if you know that you put in the work, you put in the time, then you're chilling. I feel like it's not that deep, it's not that serious. Even if you do get a bad grade, it's one test, you know what I mean? Like, nobody's perfect, nobody passes every single test. Well, some people do. That's crazy. Couldn't be me. Like, I have friends who don't even need to study, and I'm just like, that must be nice. And they sometimes get a higher grade than me, and it is frustrating for sure. And then it makes me more nervous, but you know what? It's okay. I know I tried my best, and that's what matters. So yeah, I feel like that's my one type of anxiety. The other type, like I said, is very much so like needles, doctors, anything like that. Like, ooh, like getting my blood drawn, or like anything with like shots. I do not do good with that at all. I start to feel so sick. I have never actually passed out. I did pass out one time from my mom putting my earrings in when I was younger, because I got scared about that. But I did get my ears pierced this past year, and I didn't pass out, so that was a win. I really thought I was going to be honest. I told them, I was like, I might low-key pass out, and I didn't, so that was nice. And I feel like, yeah, it all comes down to like how you try to control it and like finding something that works for you. Also, I feel like whenever I post about like mental health on social media, I feel like people tend to take it the wrong way. Like they tend to be like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, like you're going through that, whatever. And I'm like, I don't post that for you to feel sorry for me. I post it so people aren't so alone, you know what I mean? Because like truly, it's true. You never know what someone's going through. Like you could be having the same anxiety as me, and if I don't talk about mine, you would never know I'm going through it. So I feel like sometimes posting about it can help other people, and honestly it helps me too, to like let people know, hey, sometimes I'm feeling like this, and then people can kind of get what I'm going through a little bit, or maybe resonate with me. Like when I posted about my driving test, I know I keep talking about this, but it was something big that like happened for me recently. I took it last summer and I failed because I got so nervous about the parking and I completely messed up. I hit like so many cones, but that's a story for another time. And I had posted about that, and so many people responded to my Instagram story saying how they were in the same boat as me. And I was like so surprised, because I was like, I had no clue that all these people were also like about to be 20, didn't have their driver's license, didn't take their test. And I was like, so it's not just me. And they were telling me like, oh, I'm really nervous about it, I'm really nervous about the parking. And I was like, that was me. Like I stayed up so late the night before my test, and I was stressing about the parking, and I had nightmares the whole night about like messing up the parking. I got there and I took the test and I was fine, but it's like sometimes we're just so in our own heads, you know what I mean? And it's like sometimes it's helpful to see other people go through something similar to realize, okay, it's not just me, like I'm not alone with it, you know? And I feel like sometimes people forget that, but sometimes sharing how you're feeling or what you're going through could literally help your friend you don't even know. And that's why I post about it, and that's why I don't like it when people take it the wrong way. Like I don't post for you to be like, oh, I'm so sorry, or like for you to be like, oh, she just wants attention, because that's not why I post about it. I post about it so other people can not feel alone, because I know that feeling. Like I said, the driving thing, I didn't know that other people are going through that, and then it was like too late by the time I knew. And so then I was like, oh, okay. So yeah, I just feel like sometimes talking about it and being more open about it is really helpful. I feel like sometimes we only talk about what we think are like the big things, you know, like feeling nervous about a new job or something, but you can totally have anxiety about small things too. You can be anxious about having to wake up and go to the grocery store, you know what I mean? Like that's completely valid too. And I think sometimes people just forget that, and they think, oh, well, no one's gonna care, or people are gonna think it's stupid. It's not. It's your feelings, and your feelings are your feelings, and your feelings are valid, and that's it. That's literally it. Like if you feel anxious about, I don't know, getting up and going for a walk, if that's outside of your comfort zone and it's scary to you, that's totally fine. You can share that. You can talk about that. Like no one has different levels of anxiety, if that makes sense. Like they may seem bigger, but what could be big to you could be small to someone else, and vice versa. You never know how someone is feeling about a situation. So I feel like it's not fair to base someone's anxiety off of somebody else's, because it can look so different for different people, and that's what makes everybody's anxiety different. Their anxiety can be different from how they handle it to how they feel, you know, like some people get headaches, some people feel dizzy, some people get stomach aches. It's like different for everybody. Also going along with that is like how people will be like, oh, like you're so positive all the time. And I feel like it's just like a mindset thing. Like I feel like no one's actually 100% positive all the time, but it's more of like how you choose to look at things, like your perspective thing, right? Like someone told me recently, they're like, oh, you're like a silver lining type of girl. I was like, yeah, I definitely am. And I feel like it's true. Like you could be a silver lining type of person, or you could be the person that always sees the negative, always sees the dark side, you know what I mean? So I feel like it really comes down to how you choose to look at things, less than how perfect your life may seem. Like people tell me that sometimes. They'll be like, oh, well, your life's so perfect, so that's why you are how you are. No, actually, like I said, struggle with anxiety. I go to therapy for things that people don't know about. There's different things that I struggle with that people don't know about. So it's like, it's not that it's perfect. It's like the perspective of how I choose to look at things, the outlook that I have on certain situations. And that's something I'm always constantly working on and constantly trying to get better at, because sometimes I will freak out about something, like a change, like a big change that's happening in my life or something, and I jump to like, oh, I can't do this, or like this is gonna go so bad, or I'm not gonna like this. And then I take a little time and I think about it, and I'm like, okay, I got this. You know, it might be different, it might be hard, whatever, but I still got this. And I feel like taking that time to truly think before you actually think, if that makes sense, or like think before you react, is really important, because like I said, I do that all the time. Like I'll just instantly freak out, but there's no point instantly freaking out, because you're putting yourself through all this stress and all this emotion that you don't need to, when instead if you took a minute and sat down and really just tried to think about it, you would probably realize and be like, okay, maybe this isn't as deep as I'm making it, or maybe this could end up being better than I think it'll be, you know? So like, you just gotta really think about it in a different perspective and try to look at it from a different way than you might instantly think to, if that makes sense. So don't just like start thinking about it the way that you would in the first place. All right, I think it's gonna be the end of this episode because, like I said, I'm getting ready to go back to school and we're gonna have a lot of fun guests coming on soon. So I just want to keep this episode kind of short because I'll probably have the next ones be pretty long. And I'm about to go live on TikTok too. If you didn't know that, I do go live like every night. So, or at least in the summer I do. When I go back to school, that kind of varies. But yeah. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I try to kind of keep them a little different, you know, switch it up a little bit. Like the last episode was entirely different than this one, and they're all entirely different from each other. So hopefully you guys are enjoying that, and hopefully you guys have enjoyed the guests that I've had on so far. Like I said, I got more coming on soon that I'm so excited for, and I think you guys are gonna love them. So stay tuned for that. And I hope you have an amazing day or an amazing night wherever you are, wherever you're listening to this from. Remember to drink some water, eat some yummy food. If you have a pet, hold them, snuggle them, pet them, something to make your day a little better. And I love you so much. Bye. I will see you guys next time on Trina Talks.